Today, welcome. We are going to talk about plan well, retire well. This is really a focus on you. Be ready, take some notes, connect with us, and we're happy to walk through your journey together. What we're going to want to make sure is so many of us work for so many years. It might even be saving, raising children, even paying off maybe some of your college debt, first homes, looking at different vehicles. Now we fast forward and you've been climbing the mountain. Maybe, you're feeling like, gosh, I think I'm starting to get pretty well prepared. But today we're going to walk through why it's so important to have a well-defined plan, what it means to have a plan, how we're actually checking in, walking alongside together, so that when we get to that 5 year out from retirement, or maybe even a couple years already in retirement, what are some significant planning that needs to be done to ensure that you are going to retire in a very well situation. Now, our mission at McIntosh & Associates, some of you might be familiar with us. We are a local office in Freeland, Michigan. Focus is really where we are going to help good people make great decisions to live an amazing retirement. We want to make sure that you feel very much so clarity on your journey through wealth and to retirement to do the great things that you're looking so forward to. Next, I want to talk a little bit about what makes our approach a little bit different. We don't want to just be your investment advisors giving you advice on having a plan. We truly want to be your planning wealth managers. And really the reason why we want to take a look at this is we want to be that retirement specialist. When we walk through our focus process, we can actually go through a variety of things for you. And we're actually going to spell out focus. When we look at this, we're looking at our family blueprint. Realistically, our family blueprint is going to walk you through what things look like from future income planning. So today, you might be working, earning income, or just retired, but that income, we need to decide when and where it's coming from. Social Security is just not enough for a leg to stand on inside of your retirement reality. So we decide when, why, and how we're drawing Social Security benefits for you. Some of you are fortunate enough that have a pension. Others, we're going to help you create that pension inside of a 401k, 403b, and the savings that you've actually done. Because we need to ensure today that the income you're receiving can last the lifetime that you're set to live without ever having a chance of running out of money. We also take a look at optimizing investments. Diversified portfolio is important. We need to make sure your allocation mixtures are different in funds that you're using later in life versus currently. And as we continue to get more years young, I call it, we need to make sure that we're reducing or changing and allocating your risk models to walk alongside you for your needs. We're also taking a look at tax strategies for you. So many of us, myself included, we were raised telling us to save money today as a micro element of your taxes. Save money today, save money this year. But really, taxes currently are at an almost all-time low. We are going to see taxes continue to rise from here. We're going to show you some ways to make sure that we keep more of your hard-earned dollars for you, yourself, and your family. And then understanding healthcare. It's a big component of your financial wellness and financial fitness, of making sure your healthcare, your Medicare, what plan selections you have, cost only of, not only cost of premium, but the cost of care, and how inflation continues to rise. And we're going to walk through all of that with alongside your planning, the copays, your prescriptions that you have. And we wrap all of that inside of your legacy plan. Do you need a trust? We want to make sure we can help you there. Updating beneficiaries and looking at really how are we setting up things, not only for today, but for that future, to make sure that it's a continuous, ongoing loop. Now, when we talk about your working years, we talked a little bit about climbing a mountain. I personally love to do some hiking. So we're really going to talk about working years and then really this transitional phase, that 5 years or so prior to retirement, then you retire. And now this, how do we look even in the next 5 years after, and then year over there from there? Really, there is some nice transformation questions. And when we look at some of these transformation questions, we really want to know, how does your IRA impact your Medicare options when you're looking for a plan? Because believe it or not, we all are going to pay a mandatory tax to Medicare inside of retirement. And if we're not careful about required minimum distributions and withdrawal rates, especially from relatively large IRAs over $500,000, it is going to add an extra tax of something called IRMA. So write that down. We also want to make sure of, how much income do you really need in retirement? We're going to set you up with a written income retirement report that walks through your own journey of current income and what future income will look like. You're going to have that option here later to set that up. We also want to talk about risk tolerance. Some of you don't like a whole lot of degree of risk. You're happier to hedge inflation, look at even some money market type of rates, and you don't want to have any market volatility or market losses. Others know that you're in it for more of a long run or want to take a higher degree of risk. We can do a risk assessment number. It's kind of a fun exercise that we'll do together. And then how many years are you going to live in retirement? That's a very unknown. No one's promised tomorrow. So we want to make sure, how can we plan for today in our hopes for what happens tomorrow, and making sure that that well-oiled engine continues to be there for years to come. Now, when we take a look at some retirement and taxes, there's been so many changes. So one thing is we want to make sure we're helping you to keep up to date on what truly matters, not only just looking at headline news. We've seen tax law updates. We've seen higher standard tax deductions for folks that can actually, our seniors can take a higher taxable deduction even in this current year. That gives us other planning room to take a look at taxes from a different lens and really use more of a bucket approach. Required minimum distributions ages have continued to increase. So depending on the year of your birth, you might have a longer timeline before the IRS is allowing those pre-tax accounts to grow before they're ready to take a bite at the apple for those taxes. And then we are also seeing some lower itemized benefits as far as deduction goes when it looks at tax. So we have to take a look at this ever-ending changing world. We can take a look at what checklists would check the box for you this year, which might continue to be different in years to come. Now, is your Social Security really tax-free as we're talking about taxes? Your Social Security benefits are depending on income strategy. So whether you're married filing jointly that you can see here, or you're single, there is a portion of your benefits, all the way up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxable. Now, income is really going to include too, like municipal bonds or interest, but only half of Social Security. So sometimes we just need to think about, it's not what we earn, but it's really about how much we're keeping. So we need to look at what is Social Security looking at from an income standpoint, but now what is that net to you after you are paying a portion of that in taxes as well. Now, we all see all the different headline news. Some of the biggest things. Obviously, we know inflation worries. We know that there's stress on gas and oil prices from what's happening in the Straits. We know that tax rates are on the rise. We need to worry about interest rate environment, bond and treasuries. So we have all of these things kind of working in this macro and micro environment. And we really need to make sure that as things are coming up with world events, even local, we take a look at, stress at the gas market, what's leading and lagging indicators, even of the housing industry. These are all things that can affect your portfolio and more so affect your comfort level of entering into retirement, or maybe even being in retirement in something new that you have not yet been in. Every month we send out a nice monthly newsletter and weekly a market update to let folks know what is currently happening, how does it affect you, how should we change and make sure that we are adapting to what's happening, or how is your diverse plan already set up to be buffering these new things that come up that we know it's not when it will happen, but it's what timeline is it going to happen to you. Now, these are the three bucket approaches. So when we talk about the three buckets, I a lot of times think of them as carrying some pails of water. So if you're carrying several pails of water, this talks about the ways that we can save any money that we have inside of portfolios. It can be in bank accounts that you then invest if we're looking at something that is fully taxable. So this first bucket, fully taxable, funds in a bank, it could be an investment portfolio. Any money in there, your gains are going to be taxed. It's money that you are taxed on. The tax deferred is, generally speaking, when you are employed, you are contributing to a 401k, IRA, TSP, 457, 403b. This is money that you're putting away. You pay no taxes on it today. It's going to grow tax deferred. And then when you take the money out, you are first going to pay taxes on the money at your current tax bracket on any and all of the money, what you contributed and your growth rate as well. And the third bucket is our tax-free bucket. Money you put into here, Roth 401k, Roth IRA are two good examples. Any money that you put in here, you've already paid taxes on it. It grows tax-free and you withdraw the benefits tax-free as well. So we're going to walk through really, as we take a look at these three bucket approaches, think about this today of how we actually are saving. So why IRAs are expensive later, but just if we take a look at a rule of thumb and we think, wow, we have these three buckets of water and we can fill them any way that we want with tax deferred, taxable, or tax-free funds. I really want you to pay attention to that tax-free bucket. It'd be like planting a seed today that you did pay taxes on, but allowing it to flourish and grow and contribute to it for years and years and years. Now you have this wonderful, let's say, big old apple tree that's flourishing, and you do not have to pay a single penny on taxes any time you take an apple off the tree. It is huge, a key to planning. If you're feeling like, gosh, you know what? I've already saved in my pre-tax IRA, I'm already retired, or I'm too young, there are ways that we can help you to make sure to get these tax-free little by little over time. Because the pre-tax accounts, they can get really expensive when it comes time to for distributions because you're paying ordinary income tax on that. We also take a look at triggering more taxes that you're paying on Social Security. And it can push you even into a higher tax bracket or additional mandatory taxes that you're paying to Medicare. In addition to this, we're seeing additional spending. We know tax rates are on the rise, so be very careful with those IRAs. Now, as we take a look at the IRAs, the reason why I was saying why it's so important to really take a look at this tax-free bucket or the IRA, we want to make sure that we can either do conversions, change your contribution strategy. There is an exit option, so don't worry if you've been saving all pre-tax. We can pay the taxes now to save more later. We do this in this bucketing approach, so it's not all at once. This way you have no required minimum distributions. You have much more flexibility. Control will avoid IRMAA and Medicare additional taxation. It can potentially lower the taxes you're paying on Social Security, and we really want to make sure we do it over time, and tax-free income in retirement is key here. Now, these tax strategies to reduce the tax volatility, sometimes we want to make sure we want to evaluate, not just allocate, but it's really important the location of your funds. So we want to make sure that you're not investing in the same, let's say, stock, bond, index portfolio in each of your three buckets. Generally speaking, that tax-free bucket is going to be a longer time horizon before you're going to draw from that. So you can have a higher degree of potential growth earnings in those type of accounts. So we really need to look at location and allocation and diversification of funds. Some of you need to have a well indexed, probably an ETF options in your portfolio. Others need a non-market correlated. Others want simply protection and safety. So we really can take a look at a variety of options of what's going to work well for you. So we all realize we've seen these charts before. It's not about, really predicting the market. It's more about preparing for where your income is going to come from and how you're going to weather that storm later. So as long as we plan well, that's how we're going to retire well. So you can see market's been volatile. So the biggest times is we want to be more concerned if we're drawing during a down market, and it also takes much longer to recoup to have that gain come back as well. This is why it's important that we want to make sure we feel confident. If the market is rocky, we might have a portion that we're rebalancing. Some might be still in our steady eddy where we're not going to have market volatility and no losses at your income plan. So we refocus, we eliminate any possible distractions that you have, and then we reaffirm what we're really looking at for the long term and making sure we're connecting and reallocating. So we take a look to at safer strategies. Some of you right now might feel, I'm close to retirement, I need to reduce risk. You might feel like what you see in headline news has some things that are really shaping your mind about retirement. And you're thinking, I really need to either reduce risk in some of my portfolio, or I have some funds sitting on the sideline in a CD or a bank fund, and I want them to stay safe and be protected, but not necessarily have any market component risk. Well, we can help you. It's a strategy that we look at. We can even put it up on the board here if you have a visit. But we really have things set up in the spend, save, grow kind of mindset for you. So this right here is just looking at an example client, family, neighbor that we're helping. They have $1 million in their portfolio. And we looked at saying we want $400,000 to still be in their grow, well-diversified, allocated account. We want 200,000 sitting in safety, meaning they are not going to lose any market return. They might have a 3 to 7% average rate of return, but they will not have a market loss. And then we want about 400,000 in what we call that spend category. So every single month, we're doing a certain withdrawal strategy of how much money they're going to be spending, what they're drawing from there. It gives you your no-so income. It also helps to budget for the cost of what you're going to pay for healthcare and healthcare expenses, along with really that monthly financial plan. Now, most of you watching today, you don't have a written retirement income plan, and we understand that. So only 1 in 5 have one, so you're not alone. But when you visit, we will make sure that we get you a written retirement income plan as mentioned. We will do a risk tolerance versus kind of portfolio comparison for you, and a tax reduction analysis. Those are the 3 things that we want to go ahead and educate on and help deliver to you to give you clarity and really walk along the next steps for you. Now, all you need to do is scan this QR code. First of all, it's going to be a guide. This is just a nice deliverable from our team here at McIntosh and Associates to you. Some of you are still working. This talks a lot about conversions, tax strategies, and really why it's important to make sure that you continue to look at allocation and fund models inside of your 401ks or 457s. This walks alongside of you there to make sure that you're understanding what components and eligibility are in here as well. Now, your retirement for today, tomorrow, and the future is really worth a second look. There's no cost or obligation. We are happy to provide you with that written income retirement plan, the tax report, and really looking at strategy allocations. Happy to walk alongside you and really get you some great deliverables and making sure that you are planning well and retiring well.